This video is brought to you by the Paranormal Activity Ultimate Chills Collection. Available now on Blu-ray.
There's footsteps in, but there's no footsteps out.
Oh, God.
Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 scariest moments in the Paranormal Activity franchise. For this list, we'll be looking at this found footage horror franchise and picking out the moments that make us scream or thoroughly creeped out. If you're not caught up through 2021's Next of Kin, there will be spoilers. Were there any moments we missed? Record some activity down in the comments. Number 10, Down the Well. Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin. The Paranormal Activity franchise took a bit of a hiatus in the late 2010s, but 2021's Next of Kin returned to remind us that it's often what we don't see that's the scariest. In this Paramount Plus release, a young woman named Margot and her documentary crew travel to a seemingly Amish settlement to reconnect her with long-lost family. However, since this is a horror movie, things don't go as expected.
Okay, so what? They just threw the dead goats down there?
Why?
At one point, Margot and her cameraman Chris enter an extremely creepy church, only to find a well that leads down into a complex tunnel system. Margot is slowly lowered into the well, only to be greeted by the echoing sounds of something inhuman.
Chris? Hey, pull me up!
It's the anticipation that really gets us here. Number 9, Ghost Boy, Paranormal Activity 4. Featuring an Xbox Kinect definitely dates this installment a bit, but its inclusion surprisingly makes for some aesthetically chilling horror filmmaking.
Whoa!
Isn't that
I look
cool?
like I'm an alien.
Kinect projects these tracking dots.
This is the coolest thing
That's how
I've
they pick
ever
up. That's how they pick up
seen.
your.
At one point, young Wyatt wakes in the middle of the night and is lured downstairs for some ghostly shenanigans. Through the Kinect's camera, we see the living room in all its green pixelated glory, but things take a turn for the bizarre when we see the faint outline of another little kid moving behind him. Nothing ultimately comes of this scene, but its solid pacing and convincing visuals have it feeling like a viral ghost video that we can't help but believe is the real deal.
My name's not Hunter. My name's not Hunter.
What are you doing?
Number 8, Ouija Board, Paranormal Activity. Anyone who's seen a horror movie knows that messing with a Ouija board is a bad idea. But apparently, Mika didn't get the memo.
We got like 10 minutes.
What the hell are you doing, Mika?
Come on, help me.
What are you doing?
I'm gonna talk to it.
In this groundbreaking first installment, couple Katie and Mika move into a new house only to be welcomed by the titular Paranormal Activity. Thinking it's a good idea to communicate with the presence, Mika brings home a Ouija board, and he gets a fiery reception on two fronts.
You promised me you weren't going to mess with that stuff.
No, I promised you I wasn't gonna buy a Ouija board.
Oh,
I didn't buy a
Mika,
Ouija
you
board.
knew exactly what I meant.
I borrowed a
How
Ouija board.
dare you?
After Mika is rebuked by Katie, we watch as the planchette moves on its own before the board spontaneously catches fire. Seriously, we can't think of a clearer sign of supernatural malevolence, and it's at this point that we're almost fretful for the couple's safety.
Looks like someone drew something on it. I don't know.
Number 7, Bloody Mary, Paranormal Activity 3. Many of us found ourselves too chicken to play the Bloody Mary game when we were kids, and this installment takes that fear and ratchets it up to 11.
So how you play is you say Bloody Mary 3 times into the mirror, and then her dead body is supposed to appear in the mirror and try to kill you.
In this prequel, younger versions of both Katie and her sister Christy find themselves enamored with the Bloody Mary urban legend and conduct the incantation on multiple occasions. The first instance goes off without a major fright, but the demon's presence can definitely be felt. The second time is a whole other story.
Holy shit! Oh
Are
my.
you okay?
Huh?
Are you okay?
Yeah,
Does it hurt?
No. I just scratched myself.
When Katie gets her babysitter Randy to participate, the latter is badly scratched by the demon. But the fun doesn't end there, as the entity also torments them outside the door. Yeah, this is why we didn't play Bloody Mary as kids. Number 6, Katie's Return, Paranormal Activity 2. As if this scene wasn't already scary enough, knowing these characters' backstories makes it even harder to rewatch. Taking place before and alongside the original film, the first sequel follows an adult Christie as she too is haunted by a supernatural presence. She too has a rough go of it, but things reach a horrifying climax when the two films' climaxes coincide. Katie, possessed by the demon, as seen in the end of the first film, arrives at Christie's house and wastes little time. She kills Christie's husband, Daniel, before doing the same to her sister.
Katie?
As if that wasn't a chilling enough note to end on, Katie leaves with their infant son Hunter and walks off into the night. Number 5, Basement Scene, Paranormal Activity, The Marked Ones. At first, it seems like The Marked Ones would be first entry to draw things away from the overarching narrative, but boy does it tie things back in terrifying fashion. The film follows teenager Jesse as he experiences strange goings-on following the death of a neighbour who was purported to be a witch. Like any reckless youth, Jesse takes to venturing into his neighbour's now vacant apartment, but things get real when he uncovers a trap door. One night, Jesse is drawn into the basement only to get a startling glimpse of a spectral Katie and Christie. To make matters worse, he finds himself locked in. We don't get a good look at what happens next, but it's so scary, we're almost glad. Number 4, Witch House, Paranormal Activity 3. One of the more underrated horror sequels, Paranormal Activity 3, really changed the game for the franchise. Finding unique and fresh ways to scare the audience, the climax is no exception. After a whole movie of the usual scares, we're thrown for a loop when patriarch Dennis finds his home adorned with occult imagery before coming across several old women in the garage. It's then we realise that it's a very real human threat going on, but Dennis doesn't get a chance to breathe before his girlfriend Julie is killed by the demon. Dennis's House of Horrors isn't over, however, as the image of the cultists by a bonfire is punctuated by Dennis's own extremely painful death. Yikes. Number 3, Bedsheet Ghost, Paranormal Activity 3. You'd think that with all the filmmaking restrictions, the movies would have an increasingly difficult time coming up with new scares. But you know what they say, necessity is the mother of innovation.
Pretty cool, right?
It's awesome. Wow. Look, you got it balanced out and everything too. Oh, what is that?
Gotta work out some kinks.
To document the paranormal activity in its entirety, the characters attach a camera to a rotating fan, giving views of the kitchen and living room in tandem. While the girls sleep upstairs, their babysitter Lisa does her schoolwork. Only by the time the camera transitions back over to the kitchen, we see a sheet ghost has appeared behind her. We're led to believe it's one of the girls, but we're instantly spooked when it collapses into nothingness. Lisa doesn't get to see it, but she gets a genuine scare when she ventures upstairs. Number 2, Kitchen Scare, Paranormal Activity 2. People really shouldn't hang out in kitchens in these movies, should they? In what has to be the franchise's best jump scare, Christie is sitting alone in the kitchen when she begins to feel a presence. Her suspicions are pretty much confirmed when this happens. Practically every cabinet is violently thrust open simultaneously. The accompanying sound effect is so jarring that we pretty much have the same reaction as Christy. The scare was so effective, in fact, that the sequel even found a way to replicate it. Gone for mere moments, Julie returns to her own kitchen to find most of the furniture missing. Before she even has time to look up, it all reappears in dramatic fashion. Number 1. Dragged Away. Paranormal Activity. When people think of the first Paranormal Activity, they think of the strikingly realistic nighttime scares that made the film so iconic. There's a slew of moments we can pick from the door slamming, to the sheets moving, to the time-lapse of Katie standing over Mika as he sleeps. The list goes on and on. But if there's one moment that solidifies something malevolent is afoot, it's this one. Once again, unable to get one uninterrupted night of sleep, Katie is pulled out of the bed by an unseen force. She's hardly able to come to before she's then dragged from the room screaming. We don't see much of what happens next, but that's part of what makes the scene so nightmarish.
This video is brought to you by the Paranormal Activity Ultimate Chills Collection, available now on Blu-ray.